If you thought we were done with Hollywood's Great Depression, you have no idea. So the stars that got on people's nerves, the ones that wanted to make a big deal and they didn't want to go quietly, they ended up in mental institutions. If you were following my Hollywood of Babylon, I was telling you that if you were a problem in Hollywood, they had doctors, nurses, and hospitals all on their payroll. So they would pick you up in the middle of the night and put you in a hospital and nobody would hear from you and they would dope you up. So it's like you really can't speak your mind. Once you're in those contracts and you're in Hollywood, you don't own yourself. I'm seeing where the term sell your soul is coming from, because the person that was running it and doing damage controls, Louis B. Mayers. Don't forget that name, please. And look him up. Clara Bow and Buster Keaton, they didn't make that much noise. And they were fading out. In 1930s, oh my gosh, they were dropping actresses and actors left and right. It was rugs with a D, pipes, intentional weapon usages. They're not lying when they say Hollywood is one hell of a drug. There was one self-unaliving that was taken in 1932 that just took the cake. So you got this woman, her name was Jean Harlow. She married Paul Bern. She was 22 years younger than him. He was Stroudsburg's assistant at the MGM. He definitely hooked her up and gave her a position in the Culver City factory. They got married in July 2nd, 1932. For some reason, everybody looked at them like the odd couple. 2 months later, in September 5th, 1932, months, not years, months, he was found in his wife's room. Right? The wife had her own room. Weird, but whatever. And everything in there was all white. And he was covered, drenched in her perfume, unalived with a weapon to his head, which was laying right by his side. He was found by the butler. Jean, she was visiting her mother at the time. The butler didn't call the police, but of course, you know the drill. When somebody gets unalived in Hollywood, they got to call the studio first. Do not call the police. Do not call anybody else. Call the studio. This is some weird cult stuff. Yeah, this doesn't strike y'all guys as odd. Like, this is the norm. They really got some terrible secrets to the point where you can't call the cops if somebody is found unalive. This man's butler is like, let me call MGM. It's like the butler is down with it too. So Louis B. Mayer, the guy I told you that runs Hollywood himself, and Thalberg came to the scene. Whether or not it's reported that they found a note in Bern's handwriting on top of Jean's vanity table. Dearest dear, unfortunately, this is the only way to make good the frightful wrong I have done you and to wipe out my abject humiliation. I love you, Paul. You understand that last night was only a comedy. It seems like Bern had a problem. All right, again, trigger warnings, and this ain't for kids, so please. He tried to have intercourse by artificial means, so something that was not real, and he injected it into his wife. Mayers took this note, and when the police arrived, which was 2.5 hours later, they only turned this letter over because the publicist, Howard Strickland, insisted he do so. But get this, with this book, you really got to read in between the lines. So, if that note was really on him, but the note was given to the police. And they're like, oh, yeah, as a matter of fact, we'll take it. But they said that the next day, Dorothy Millette is a blonde would-be star. That was Paul Bern's first wife. She was unalived herself, quote unquote, air quotes to the T, in water. Something like the way Whitney Houston went out, except this was in the Sacramento River. That's really odd. And then you got 2 actors that went out the same way. They were turned alcoholics. They did the same thing, apparently underwater themselves. This is what they say. John Bowers walked in nude in, a Malibu pool, and James Murray jumped clothes on in the East River. George Hill, a big director, unalived his own head off while hunting. You can tell these cops anything at this point. Lou Telligence unaliving in 1935 was not unique at all. So with him, he actually had a pair of scissors, and he so it's called harakiri, and I looked up the definition because I had to, and it's cutting of the stomach. He had scissors, and it had Telegen's own name on them. They said that he used that to cut out pressed items. So he would just cut out items of his successful careers throughout the years. So there he is with his scissors, and he is found in a pool of all his collage newspaper clippings of his stuff and his exquisite things that he did in his life. But there was a woman next to him. Her name was Gwilly Andre. She was a model, but she was a failed starlet. She had a whole bunch of press coverage and stuff like that. She was found a few feet away, burnt next to all of her clippings and stuff like that she was in the newspaper for. Max Sennett's ill-faith, he started this big trend where they would climb to the top of that big caption Hollywood land, and they would jump off the D. Oh, pause. With the 13th letter on the symbol, and they did stuff like that. Like, what the heck is going on in this Hollyweird place? So the Hollywood sign became notorious to say bye. 1937 and 1938, pills were a lot better. You know, the ones that rock you to sleep. And they're saying that there was so much scandal and stuff like that. However, there was so much that did not even see the light of day. A newspaper didn't even touch. Hollywood was just all over the place. Depression, insecurities brought out the worst in people. Stars that struck out and were no longer stars. Directors being backstabbed against other directors. Office men being trashed by everyone in sight. Like, this thing was serious. Reading this, I just want to go to church. Look, this is so dark though, guys. So these are the hangout spots they used to hang out to. And this is where the gossip would start and the humiliation would start. So they had nighteries such as Chicago, the Coconut Grove, Casanova, the Cotton Club, Hawaiian Paradise, Club Marty, Bally, Club Esquire, Century Club, and the famous Door. That's where they would gossip and their tongues would wag as they're drinking and stuff like that. Gossip about everybody's sexuality. Because they was getting in this way and that. And get this, they didn't spare no one in Hollywood. Public image and private lives, not in Hollywood, baby. They had a whole bunch of scandals and cover-ups and, as I guess we would call it, beards. I mean, they would talk about the men that was well endowed, and then they would talk about the men that was not. And then, look, this is not even new. They were talking about the women's private areas being taken in and stuff like that. Like, they were surgically getting stuff performed. So I guess Jada Pinkett, that was nothing new. They were doing this in the 30s. People that went other ways when choosing partners, they were the juiciest of the gossips. They have a guy. His name is F.W. Murnau. His favorite, of course, was guys. So he had a valet driver. I don't even know why they said handsome. I can't say this guy's age because I won't. It was way too, it wasn't even driving age. Like, you're a valet driver? Oh my gosh. And when I say it's hard to say the age, YouTube gonna get me in trouble, so I can't. But it was under 1.5. That's what I'm saying. Like, why? How do you be a valet driver at that age? I said under, by the way. Anyway, apparently the valet driver was at the car, at the wheel. Garcia being inappropriate. The car somehow leaped off the road. And they said that 11 people showed up to his funeral, and they was like brave souls. Yeah, because I wouldn't have showed up either. Now, this guy, Murnau, he was a director, of course. Of course, these people are in high positions. And some people in the film, they didn't even pay respects to him. Most of the women, let me tell you, were definitely swinging both ways. It's like everybody was just out there. They were covering it up, though. Okay, so the next title is called Monster Mae. This is Mae West. She rode into Hollywood with a reputation as the bad girl of Broadway. She was doing plays like Sex, which got her into hot water, and of course, 8 days in jail. 1932, she arrived to Hollywood, and she was quipped. Paramount's move signing Mae, it was a gamble, but it paid off. She stole the movies with supporting role night after night. And after that, she got the bosses of the studios to give her another movie called She Done Him Wrong, which she adapted from one of her own plays, Diamond Little. It broke box office records. 1933, it took in $2 million. in 3 months and saved the studio from bankruptcy. Mae oozed sex. They said she couldn't even sing correct without it being extremely sexy and salacious. However, her love life compromised the whole movie most of the time. Her past lovers, present lovers, and perspective. It always compromised these new movies being made. So check this out. Mae became such a star. They had her in movies at the movies at the movies. And so she did a successful movie called I'm No Angel. And then she came up with something called It Ain't No Sin. How about the preachers was picketing talking about it is definitely a sin. And we're picketing. They won a slight victory because Hollywood changed the name, but they still kept the movie. So at this time, one of the preachers, they actually went to Mae's. If I told you about Mae's, y'all, he's sadistic, he's evil, he's all of that stuff. However, he was definitely listening to the preachers preach about how to make Hollywood more sanctified. You know why? Because he wants to lure in the church-going people into the pits of hell. Literally. I told y'all before, this is why he made certain movies about Christ and all of this stuff, is to get everyone into the movie scene, to make y'all believers, to make y'all have like all these great liners and purified and, oh, Hollywood, look at this movie. Let's watch this. Because don't a lot of church people go to movies too? Exactly. That's my point. So Hayes takes all of this stuff that the preacher gave him and he inserts little things inside all movies. It was at least 100 different ways and things, and he put it inside these movies. The super censorship started in 1934. So they would change things in gangster movies when they wanted to be like a sexual nature. They'd be like, is that a gun in your pocket, or are you just good to see me? While It Ain't No Sin, while that was in production, Hayes' office also had somebody stand at the set to oversee all of Mae Line's words and movement and stuff like that, because she was oozing certain things. But Mae was having too much fun. She invented an imaginary kidnapping threat and kept herself surrounded by a squad of bodybuilt bodyguards who followed her right into the luxurious dressing rooms between takes while the watchdog fumed. Mae hung out a do not disturb sign, except in case of a fire. Yes, Mae definitely was extremely promiscuous and she loved men. Mae had this line she would say to herself: it's better to be looked than overlooked. And a man in the house is worth two in the street. Mae really didn't like much competition, and she made a joke on a lady, and for whatever reason, Hearst was not happy with it. So what happened was Mays was cracking jokes at Marion. Back in the day, like I said a couple of chapters ago, Hearst's mistress, number one, Ace Boone Coon, like he was so protective over this model Marion. So when May started bullying his number one woman, he was pissed off. So he took to the papers and he was like, May needs to be put to a stop. She's out of control. And he was in charge of press and stuff like that. So he started steering them to May. He couldn't tell everybody, I'm sleeping with Marion, so I'm pissed off at May. So he just made it seem like she's just too raunchy. Her dialogue is too much. He gave orders to ban ads for her films. I mean, he was putting stuff in the papers like quotes that she actually said. I always pick the one I never tried before. And it's better to give than receive. May always liked the big bodybuilder type or the boxer type. She was just infatuated with them. That was her thing. She rather them than actors. They did say that May respected other people's privacy. She just liked her own privacy to be respected. But you had Hearst on your back, the media mogul. She stayed away from the Hollywood parties and stuff like that, but you would see her at a prize fight. Hearst was like, let me go to Mayor of Hollywood, Hayes Mayors. They went to him and was like, chatty catty, of course. You know what May said about you? She said, I wouldn't let him touch me with even a 10-foot pole, and I wouldn't even lift my veil for that guy. Hearst and Breen, they were going to publish this in the papers. And you don't want Mays to take out his blacklist, because he take out his book, you're in trouble. I told you, they will just whisk you and take you to the mental institution, or they'll do whatever with you. They don't play. And they would label you as disobedient. So they were trying to get her on the blacklist log with the other undesirables, right? It was Katharine Hepburn and Fred Astaire. The only thing is, Mae's pictures were still doing good. But eventually, the smears took its toll. When her contract came up for renewal in 1938, they canned her. And all her films at other studios, they were just declining. And that is the end of this part. We're going to do another part. But we got to talk about this. This is the way they make you a star and they strip it away is just diabolically devilish. It's sad and it's hurtful because they're playing with real people's lives that work hard for their careers and stuff like that. And just because somebody does not like you, they go behind your back. And it seems like everybody in Hollywood will go behind your back. Anyway, this is Amina Sina. Please like and comment and subscribe. And I'll catch you on the next one.